So we've got 3 weeks left until the end of the quarter. How do you think it's gone? And what are you most looking forward to in the next financials, which we could find out?
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm tracking is sales in non-US markets, so Europe and China. It looks like China was slightly soft coming into March, but it looks like it's picking back up again. So that's been fascinating to see. There's been inventory build up at Europe, which has started to come down, and it looks like it was just a lot of batched cars that were coming from Shanghai. They were moving a lot of that inventory over for the first couple months, which is part of the usual strategy for Tesla. It seems they batch cars for Europe for the first 2 months and then they go domestic. So it's been interesting to keep an eye on that, especially related to the price decreases. I think it's going well. But I'm really waiting to see how Q1 is going to come in based on the margins that they're going to be able to make at these new lower prices. And if the margin is above 20% with all the different price increases they've done globally, I think that's going to send a very big message to the automotive world that says, we have the cheapest product for its value by far, and we are making sometimes infinitely more margin than you are on your product. What are you going to do about it? And so that's the message I expect to come out of Q1. And if that is the message, then I don't know what else people need. Given that execution will happen, right? Given that they'll continue to ramp, and given that the Gen 3 car is going to come out. And again, a lot of people might still need to be sold on that, but I'm already sold on that. Like I told you that story about me just having a lot of conviction. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I know what the team can do. You don't need to sell me on that anymore. Everything that I say is based on that foundation. So that will be my thing, is like, if margin is still in great shape, maybe it's not 26, 27% like it was, but if it's 20% or above, while absorbing those price decreases, while ramping the company, while the automotive industry is on a downturn, while there's recessionary fears, while interest rates are going up, okay, what else do you need? What else do you need? So I'm very much looking forward to that. And it's going to be my most anticipated quarterly earnings report, probably ever. Because in tandem, you also have Ford reporting for the first time with the Ford Blue and the Ford Model E separated, which is the electric and legacy division, as 2 different entities. And we're going to get those 2 on the same quarter. And so I'm curious to see what stories are being told from each side. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Q1 earnings report. And we'll see. We'll see if Tesla is able to keep those margins above 20%. It's going to be fascinating to see.
Have you considered a goal for production target?
So I follow multiple sources for that, for the production target. I think the production target will be somewhere around Q4, that 440 number ish. Deliveries, we have to wait and see how China comes in and how Europe comes in for the end of the quarter. I'm seeing ranges anywhere between 408 to 435. I tend to be more bullish, so I'm closer to the 435. At the beginning of the quarter, I was thinking somewhere around 450-ish, maybe even higher. But given that China was shut down for, I think, a week or so for the Chinese New Year, there have been some fears around softness around demand in some regions. We'll see. We'll see where it comes in. I think if it's somewhere between 435 to 450, given all we know, will be a really good result, just based on where we are now. Somewhere between, say, 415 and 435, it'll be a increase from the previous quarter. That's not bad. That's pretty good. If it's below 415, then I'll be curious to see sort of what's going to be Tesla's guidance on why they reached that number. Like, okay, was there a lack of demand? Are you still undoing the wave? How are you thinking about those things? Are you afraid of dropping prices lower because you don't want to hit margin too hard? I'm curious to see what the guidance is, but that's where my head is at.
There could be a nice tailwind from unwinding the wave.
There could be, but it depends how much they've decided to keep in the pipe. So the wave is going to have 2 components. It's going to have the transportation aspect, and it's also going to have the inventory aspect. So if the wave was stored on the inventory side, then we would see higher levels of inventory, especially in the United States. But my gut tells me the wave is probably in the pipeline, where they're filling up the pipes, sort of with cars on boats, cars on trailers, cars on holding lots before they go into the maybe like the transitional sort of like place where they're offloading cars and picking them back up, which I don't think Tesla does very much, but maybe they're building out a new process for that. So if they're still building up the pipe, we won't really see it in any numbers up until the quarter is done. And they have to decide how to unload that onto the inventory lots. So we'll see. We'll see what the numbers are.
There was a huge amount of excitement around energy for Q4 2022. What are you thinking about energy in Q1 2023?
I'm looking for a slight increase in energy for revenue and margin. Well, not slight. Let me correct that. So 1.3 billion was the number in revenue for Q4, I believe, for energy, around 1.3 billion. I'm expecting like 1.6 billion. My dogs, they go crazy. Yeah,
they're going crazy for energy. They're loving it.
That's right. Yeah, so for energy, I'm expecting 1.6 billion ish. Q4 was 1.3 billion. I'm expecting the margins to continue to go up. I think they came in around 12% for Q4. I would like to see 15% or more in Q1. I think long term, energy will be a cash cow for Tesla without a shadow of a doubt. It's going to be fascinating to see how they scale that building up, that business up. I've talked about, folks talking about 15% margin, 50% margin, and so on and so forth. And conceptually speaking, that makes sense to me. But getting to those levels from an entire business will take. It looks like it's going to take longer than we all expect. It might take a few years to get there, but they might surprise. They might get there much earlier. And we might realize that much sooner. So, wait and see pattern. If I continue to see growth in the business and increasing margins from energy, it's going to be quite additive to the business. And maybe by 2025, it will be adding quite a bit more to the bottom line than most analysts for sure expect, because not a lot of people are modeling this into their models.
I feel like Tesla was a bit wishy-washy about the potential share buybacks at Investor Day compared to how we heard Elon speaking towards the back end of last year. Do you think that's kind of put to bed for a while then?
Maybe. I mean, to be honest, stock buybacks, I don't really care about them too much, because from an investment perspective, a stock buyback of say $5 to $10 billion, which is I think what Tesla was planning, is, oh my God, it's such a small percentage of the float. It's like 3%, 2%. And it'll take multiple quarters to do that buyback. It's a program. It will take time to finish out the buyback program. So from the standpoint of impacting the stock price directly, I don't really think it does much, if anything at all. It's more a signal that says that Tesla's confident about the macroeconomic environment and their standing from a financial perspective, given all the different investments they have to invest in. So if we get a buyback, say this year, while the economy technically might go into recession still, we're still waiting on that. We have no idea what the hell is going on. It's like we're still in limbo. While the Fed is potentially raising rates, while Tesla is investing in all its verticals, while they are generating cash, and while they are lowering prices, if they say, and we're doing a buyback on top of that, the message that sends is like, we're going to be able to grow 50% per year, and we're going to have excess cash to put to work. Insane. That makes no sense. So we'll see, especially as a large item manufacturer that's super capital intensive. Tesla, in a way, is sort of bucking the trend from that perspective. So it's much more signal to the confidence of the economy than Tesla stock specifically. That's how I think about it. I could be wrong, but that's how I think about it.
We had a nice nugget in the last quarterly earnings about Tesla Insurance being at a $300 million a year run rate. Do you think Tesla will be looking to separate out any of their revenue streams in like the medium to near term? And if so, which ones do you think they might do?
That's a very good question. I think energy being broken out more will be helpful.
Yeah.
I think that would be very, very helpful. We can sit down and do the math, no problem. But maybe break it out by product line. Maybe give us solar, mega pack, Powerwall. I highly doubt they'll do that for a while because they're still ramping up the business. And I'm like solar roof, for example, it's a disaster right now from a profitability perspective, and it still hasn't ramped. So that's going to take a long time. So it all depends on how Tesla wants to prioritize that part of the business. So once they prioritize it, I think they'll start breaking it out. I think that'll be helpful to see. Supercharger revenue is going to be fascinating to see as well. Yeah, insurance will be good to see as well because it will help people like me who are not really putting too much weight behind it to understand that business better. So yeah, I think it'll be helpful. Maybe they start doing that Q1, who knows, with energy. But I think it will start to be broken out once the transportation side of the business is not such a huge percentage of the total revenue. And that will continue with Gen 3, once they release the compact car. That's going to add a lot of revenue to that line. So at some point, they'll break it up. Maybe they'll break out FSD. Maybe they'll break out the FSD revenue, and we'll be able to see that better once autonomy becomes more and more sort of everywhere, where it's more and more people have it. But yeah, we'll see. I don't expect them to do it very soon, but if they start doing it, great. It'll be great for visibility.
One stat I would absolutely love to find out is how many people are on subscription for FSD. What is the growth rate like? What is the uptake like? Is it people who are buying secondhand cars as well? I would just love to find those stats for sure.
Yeah, me too. Typically, companies won't unveil that until they are confident that it's a good number. So they're not gonna. So it's almost like a tell. So if Tesla hasn't told us that number yet, it's because they don't like it. So once they like it, they'll show it. That's how companies work usually.